Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 460 for the 29th of May for the Ukraine war, or the special military operation in Ukraine. And for those that have not subscribed to this channel, it's time for you to subscribe and press the like button. Let's start off with shocking news coming from Moscow. Moscow has been attacked by drone strikes from the Ukrainian side. This is the latest news. This actually happens just within the past 12 hours, and this is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. They said that 8 different drones were deployed to attack Moscow. All drones were reportedly shot down. 3 of them is suppressed by electronic warfare, and then the other 5 is destroyed by the Pantsir S surface-to-air missile system. And but according to the pro-Russian source Ryba, they estimated that there could be up to 20 drones that were used to attack Moscow, and probably some of them actually were successful in their attack against certain targets. According to Ryba, one of this source, I think they forwarded. They say that at least one drone actually hit a military hospital, but it was not reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. So something around that like this, but it's not particularly important. It doesn't change the tide of war. It doesn't change anything on the ground, but because it hits the capital, it actually caused the pro-Russian side to be a bit talkative about this thing. Similar to what happened in the Belgorod raid, where there's just way too much information about this, or too much discussion about it, and largely actually it is not particularly important, but it does shows that the Ukrainian side is able to send a drone strike up to 500 kilometers away from their territory. So it puts a lot of question to the ability of the Russians to actually stop such drones. According to Ryba, they say that the Ukrainians have up to 500 such drones, the UJ-22 UAV. So let's see how this goes, and see whether the Ukrainians can win the war just by drones alone. The Russians, however, over the past 24 hours, also actually launched their own attack. It's a combination of missile and drone strike. They actually attacked the airbase at Starokonstantinivka, Starokonstantinov, in the Khmelnytsky region. Another target was actually in the Zhytomyr region, at this airbase at Ozheny. So this is the other one that was attacked by the Russians, and they also attacked the airbase, the airport in Kiev. I spelled this wrong. The Zuyani airbase, which is the one that was going all crazy about the Patriot missile systems, shooting all its loads, and caused some pregnancy. But and then got struck by Kinzhal, that airport. So at least one drone hit somewhere near a launcher of a Patriot air defense system, reportedly according to pro-Russian sources. So 3 different air bases has been attacked by missile and drones attack from the Russian side. So it's tick for tack. So I report mainly this one is because air bases were part of the target. So otherwise, missile strikes is almost a daily thing. It's nothing particularly special. It doesn't change anything. So and over at the Kharkiv front, there is a fighting reported near Kudievka, at the border of Ukraine and Russia. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, where they say that their special forces in cooperation with a mortar squad destroyed a group of Ukrainian troops with 3 pickup trucks close to Kudievka. So maybe there is some Ukrainian troops nearby in this border region. Maybe they were traversing through the highway, or guarding the border, and then they got spotted by the Russian servicemen, maybe within the forest region, and then they actually took them out. So this is also it's not particularly common to see the Russians doing ground attacks into Ukrainian side. They do that, but it's not common. It's more often that we see the Ukrainians actually shell and sometimes doing raids into the Russian territory and then come back. So this, not sure if it will signal a change in terms of how the Russians behave in the Russian-Ukrainian border. The Russians do shell the Ukrainian side with airstrikes and everything. They do also do that. So, but to target a serviceman close to the border, yeah, it is not particularly common in the way how I see it. But let's see how this goes. Whether all these border skirmishes will escalate into something bigger. Then moving into the southern front, we do not have any reports over at the Kherson region, and over into the Zaporizhia line, the continuation of shelling continues at Kayamsky, Bilohaya, Melinivka, and so this three area got shelled by the Russians. The Ukrainian offensive that was rumored is still not happening just yet at the Zaporizhia front. And over at the Donetsk front, we have shelling being reported at Zolotan Neva. Particularly, this one is a bit special because this is actually a video geolocated by Chris759. It shows the Russian artillery shelling this bridge, and so the bridge, unclear if it's destroyed, but it might be. So this bridge is across the Kalashkach River, and this will actually cause problems for the Ukrainians to actually resupply their forces over at Zolotan Neva. So if the bridge is destroyed, then they might have to do a pontoon, or they might have to repair the bridge or something. But this actually opens a window of opportunity for the Russians to actually attack and capture this town over here. But of course the Ukrainians can reinforce from Pryshetivka. So let's see how this goes. And moving on, we have shelling being reported at Voleda. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. And as usual, Marinka continue to report fighting. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they said that the Russians attacked 12 different times on the 29th of May. And moving into the ADFK front, we actually have no reports of any fighting in this front line. Suddenly went quiet, similar to New York, which is nobody cares about them. And then over at the Bakhmut front, we have fighting reported in the northwestern part of Klishchiivka. So this is Klishchiivka, and according to Syriac maps, the Ukrainian forces managed to capture this area here, wrong color, this area here, with the Ukrainians managed to counter attack in some way. In terms of our mapping at DPA, it doesn't really change anything much in terms of the mapping. Only this part, this area here. So this forest line is the only one that seems to have some difference in terms of we actually try to extend it a bit, but otherwise it doesn't really make much of a difference in terms of the front line. And we do not have much of any other fighting around this area or just off Bakhmut. And over at the Orikhovo-Vasilivka, the Ukrainian, as I mentioned, seems to not want to chase the Russians, and indeed they did not. So the Ukrainians did not do this offensive. The front line went stagnant. The Russians, however, used the flamethrower system, the TOS-1A, and shelled the Ukrainian forces that were concentrating near Orikhovo-Vasilivka. So this is going to spell some problems for the Ukrainian side, because then they lose the momentum, as they usually do when they do offensive, they don't follow through. Then you stay at that place, then the Russian artillery comes. So it's yeah, but no, I'm still waiting for their continuation of their Bakhmut offensive. So anyway, moving into the Sivas front, we have only shelling reported at Ryhorivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. In the northwestern part of Bilohorivka, there is a Russian attack in the northwestern part here. This is reported by Remlin 21, the pro-Russian source. They say that the goal is to encircle the Ukrainian forces at Bilohorivka. So yeah, I don't think that is good. that makes any difference because it's across the river. The Russians can attack all they want, but the river actually protects the Ukrainian forces that is holding up in Belohorivka. Unless you say that the Russian forces actually built a pontoon crossing over here and then they penetrate through and capture Horivka. Yeah, then maybe with this push over here you can encircle, but too far-fetched, too far-fetched. There is shelling reported at Dniprova, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and that's all from the. Oh, yeah, there's one more at Makiivka as well, and that's all from the Crimea front. And moving into the Svetove front, we have recon operations over at Andriivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And so there's some push, but probably got taken out. And the Russians are reportedly attacking Stemakivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Shelling is being reported at Stemakivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And over at Novosibirsk, it's the same thing. The Ukrainians say that the Russians are attacking, whereas the Russians say that they are just shelling. Then moving further up north, we have the same attack, the series of attack. There's Masitivka, Kromalny, Novosibirsk, and Stemakivka reported. So this is Kromalny one. And the Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling over at Khrushchevka as well as Kaislivka. So the Russians are shelling this area and this area. So it's just very common. It's almost feeling like it's pointless to report all this shelling. But yeah, because the Russian Defense Ministry specifically mentioned all these locations, which is why I'm reporting that. If I'm going to report the Ukrainian Defense Ministry's report of shelling, then the whole map will be full of icons. But all this shelling doesn't seem to really indicate anything much other than just typical operations. So I'm starting to really think, should I really continue to report all this shelling by the Russian Defense Ministry, because it's starting to feel pretty pointless. Anyway, over at the Sinkivka region, we have recon operations over at Sinkivka with the Ukrainians attacking maybe just south of Liman Pershi. There is still fighting reported at Masitivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with the Russians continuing their push south. But yeah, the Russian side did not mention anything about fighting at Masitivka anymore. So, and shelling is being reported at Novolimsk, this town just off the Oskil River here. So maybe it's because there's some high ground, some hilly area around here that might be entrenchment. So yeah, it's attracting a lot of artillery shelling over at Novolimsk. Anyway, that's all from the Kupiansk front, and that's all for the summary for the day of 460 for the 29th of May in the Ukraine war, or the special military operation in Ukraine. So do press the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you in the next update.